Hey, special educators, welcome back. It's Jennifer from Positively Learning. Today, we're going to be diving into a topic that sparks a range of emotions. We're going to be talking about scheduling. For some of you, it might feel like a puzzle and you're up for the challenge, but for many of you, it might feel like the hardest part of back to school. I've been reading through your comments in the Special Educators Resource Room Facebook group, and it's clear that scheduling is a hot topic. Today, I want to offer some real, actionable support as we tackle this beast. We're going to talk about the struggles, the strategies, and how we can make this process a bit easier. So let's jump in. Hey, special educators, I'm Jennifer from Positively Learning. Welcome to the Special Educators Resource Room. If you're like me, you're always looking for ways to save time and streamline your work. That's why this podcast was created, to give you the systems and solutions you need to get your time back. Tune in for tips, tricks, and tools that will help you manage your workload and make the most of your time. Whether you're brand new or experienced, all are welcome in the Special Educators Resource Room. First off, I should address the elephant in the room. I've had my website for 14 years, and I'm pretty sure I've never given advice on scheduling. I may have mentioned it once. And if you've worked with me, you're probably thinking, really, Jed, you're going to give advice on scheduling? But I'm going to do my best. And I do have one tip that always worked for me, and I will be sure to share that with you. Let's start by acknowledging the reality that scheduling in special education is tough. And it's not just because of the logistics, though that's certainly a big part of it. It's the emotional toll, too. You're trying to do right by your students, your colleagues. Maybe you're on that list, too, but it often feels like you're caught in a no-win situation. So if you're feeling frustrated, overwhelmed, feeling like your schedule is never going to be completed, please know that you're not alone. It's okay to feel that way. The reality is scheduling is hard. And it changes often, and that's part of what makes the process even more challenging. But let's talk about how we can navigate these challenges together. My first tip is to view schedules as flexible frameworks versus fixed plans. Now, this is really tough for me because I thrive on routine. I know students do too, and I like to know what's expected. However, I also know that it's inevitable that there's going to be changes in our schedule. So staying flexible might look like building in some buffer time to plan for that unexpected, so that when a new student joins or a service provider needs to adjust, you have some wiggle room to accommodate without having to completely overhaul the entire schedule. The next tip is to identify all of the non-negotiables. And I divide these into two different groups, the ones from the outside and the ones on your own caseload. So on the outside, non-negotiables are the school times, when students eat lunch, when they have specials, if you cannot pull during specials, whatever non-negotiables are going on at your school, you want to identify those. Then you want to think about your non-negotiables, which is service minutes that absolutely must be met. If you could block those out first and then work around them, that's going to give you a clear picture of where you can have some flexibility. This isn't really a fun tip because everything feels like a non-negotiable, but it is an important tip. You can't move forward with trying to accommodate other people's schedules if you don't have those non-negotiables in place first. The next tip is to use color coding. And I know this might sound simple, but color coding your schedule can make a big difference in visualizing your time. We've just identified the non-negotiables. Let's make those all red. Yes, you can go deeper into the non-negotiables and assign different colors. In fact, we are going to come back to color coding, but for now, let's just make it all red because we want to easily see where the open spots are. Which brings us to our next step, planning for the unexpected. We all know that these unexpected things are going to happen, but now we can look at the schedule and see where those flex periods are that you might be able to use to catch up or accommodate a last-minute change. The next tip is to group similar tasks together. If possible, Try to group similar tasks or sessions together. This may be grade level, this might be content area. If you have several students with similar goals, you may consider scheduling them back to back or maybe even together in a small group. This can streamline the day and maximize instructional time. I bet many of you have not considered this next tip because we love to do everything all by ourselves, but think about where you could delegate or share tasks, or maybe even trade tasks. If you're working with paraprofessionals, if you're working with co-teachers, don't be afraid to put your minds together and see where you can delegate tasks that can help free up your time or theirs. Whether it's assisting with transitions or helping with groups, you can leverage staff to make a big difference in your schedule and theirs, which can really go a long way to preventing burnout. So we just talked about the possibility of trading tasks with coworkers, but what about the scheduling task? Do you work with somebody who finds scheduling pretty easy? Could you arrange to take something off their plate while they help you with the scheduling? It can't hurt to ask. Let's take a quick scheduling pause and catch up. We talked about remaining flexible because we know that change is going to happen, and it's much easier to change a portion of the schedule than to throw the whole thing out and start over again. We identified the non-negotiables, and then we color-coded them so that we could easily see if there's any flex time. We also talked about collaborating with staff, whether it's delegating or trading tasks that can help make both of your schedules feel doable. Moving forward, think about using technology. There's several different apps and digital tools designed to help with scheduling. You want to see what your school is already using. At our school, we were given a Excel sheet or Google sheet that had the bare bones for our grade level, mostly like lunch times and things like that. And then we had to build our schedule on that sheet and submit it to admin, and they kept a master copy. You do not want to reinvent the wheel if there's something that you're already required to use. What about using AI for scheduling? So I tried it out after I saw that suggested many times in the special educators resource room. It was okay. You're still going to have to take the time, of course, to enter in all the fine details of your schedule. And then what I ended up getting back when I tried it wasn't a format that I found very user-friendly. So instead, I would try setting your schedule and then use ChatGPT for brainstorming how you're going to fit everything in, suggested time blocks when you feel stuck. I suggest using tools like AI or the Facebook group as a support versus doing your schedule for you. All right, now we're up to my number one tip, and you might not really like this, but it works for me. I never minded doing the hard work of scheduling, and I know that you don't mind it too. The frustration comes is when it changes over and over and over again, and you think, why did I spend all this time on it? Can you see where I'm going with this? I mentioned that admin would give us this framework, this Google sheet, and it was blank except for grade level expectations, like what time we have lunch, because we didn't get to choose. So I was given that sheet. Everybody was given that sheet. And then we had our name on one of the tabs. We had to fill it out, and it was due by, let's say, Wednesday. I would wait till Tuesday. I am not joking. That's very unlike me too. If you know me, I like to do things quickly and overthink things, but I always waited to the very last minute. I let everybody do their schedules first because I did not want to get into negotiations. I didn't want to get into that emotional back and forth. I would end up coming across as the most flexible person. I would say to related service providers and grade level team members, hey, do your schedules, send them to me when they're done, and I'll make it work. And you know what? I did. It wasn't really fun, but I did make it work. The related service providers had already worked with gen ed teachers. Everybody already had some back and forth, and these were their final schedules. So I could easily go in, spend about 1 hour identifying where my times are going to go, and there were rarely any changes because they'd already done all of that work before I got them. I mean, now that I think about it, it's kind of selfish of me that I didn't participate in those, but it was also very flexible because they got to choose the times first. Now let's circle back and revisit color coding. If you've been following these steps, you might be looking at a red and white schedule. Red is all the non-negotiables, and white are all the spots we left blank. This is where all the puzzle pieces have come together. You can assign different colors to different types of tasks or groups of students you're working with. And this way you can see how all of your time is allocated and if there's any adjustments that might be needed. I hope these tips were helpful, and please know if scheduling doesn't go as planned, don't be too hard on yourself. It's important to stay flexible. You're doing the best you can with the tools and the information you have, and that's all anyone can ask. You've got this, and more importantly, your students are lucky to have you in their corner, advocating for them and ensuring that they get the services they need. Thank you so much for joining me. I'd be honored if you hit subscribe and consider leaving a positive review so other special educators can find us here. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you next time in the Special Educators Resource Room. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'm dying to ask, what'd you think? Be sure to hit the follow or subscribe buttons so that you never miss an episode. You can find the show notes and links for everything mentioned in this episode at positivelylearningblog.com. See you next week for more special education solutions.